This is the Mercedes-Benz EQB 350 4MATIC. Is it simply an EV variant of the GLB SUV? What are you gaining and what are you losing? Watch this to find out.
The Mercedes-Benz EQB looks like a rounded GLB. Personally, I prefer the boxy GLB shape, but I understand the designers had to focus on aerodynamics. As a result, the EQB front is more delicate like in the GLA, and of course it gets the EQ flat fascia. The EQB follows the EQC and EQA recipe. It's an EV based on a combustion engine SUV. Yes, I remember a few years ago in the EQC review I said it doesn't have an ICE counterpart. I was wrong. Unfortunately, all Mercedes EVs seem to have their regular powertrain counterparts, which is reflected in their practicality.
Yes, I'm talking about things like the frunk. Sorry about the echo. Kia solved it with a plastic tray with a lid in which you can fit a charging cable. And why do I need a charging cable with me at all times? Not all Type 2 chargers come with a cable, and some hotels may not even have a wall box. So you may need a regular 230 volt charging cables if you want to charge overnight.
Mercedes is too lazy to cover this mess under the bonnet. They may have invented the internal combustion engine, but EVs is not their forte. I'm beginning to understand why Mercedes and BMW don't want you to look under their flagship hoods and just got the windscreen washer fluid fillers outside of the engine bay. In smaller models, they didn't even bother to do that.
And what's wrong with the boot? Well, some of my viewers who actually drive EVs and charge them at the office noticed that having to put a dirty and potentially wet charging cable into the boot or behind the front seat is not ideal. Now, Mercedes gives you cables in these two nice cases, but they take up quite a bit of space and, surprisingly enough, they don't fit under the boot floor. And imagine a situation where you stay at a hotel just overnight, you want to charge, you have your luggage here, you just take one bag to the room, and you see where I'm going with this.
But let's assume this is not a problem for you because you got the EQB to drive on short to medium distances, and everywhere you go there is some convenient means of charging. The boot volume drops from 570 liters to the window line in the 5-seater GLB to 495 liters in the 5-seater EQB. In case of the 7-seater, yes, you can have the EQB as a 7-seater as well, it's 500 and 465 liters respectively. Seats in the second row slide up to 14 centimeters and have adjustable backrest angle, which allows you to get additional 190 liters of cargo capacity with the seats up. Fold them down and the total boot volume is now 1710 liters, 95 less than in the GLB. There are some shopping bag hooks and the cargo cover doesn't fit under the floor unlike in the GLB. Also, you can't drop the floor. However, you can open and close the boot with a gesture as well with a button on the tailgate. There's a separate button to lock the car as you leave.
Like in the GLB, also in the EQB, the doors cover the sills, and these are some thick sills due to the batteries under the rear section of the floor. This also means the passengers in the rear ride with their knees touching their ears, especially the taller ones, something you may want to take into consideration when your kids no longer need child seats.
The backrest splits 40-20-40. Each of the three elements is individually adjustable, just like in the Mini Countryman. And like in the Countryman, also here the sliding bench is divided 40-60. There are cup holders in the armrest and large door pockets. There are air vents and only one USB-C port. I couldn't find an option to have two, but more USB ports are in the front.
And in the front, like in the EQA, also here there is more legroom because the battery pack ends under the front seats. Now, the dashboard is identical to that in the A-Class, B-Class, CLA, GLA, GLB, EQA. Watch my reviews of all of these cars, links in the description below. In these reviews, I go in depth into how the MBUX infotainment system works. Also, in those reviews, there are more options than on this test example. The semiconductor shortage is still a problem.
The three aforementioned USB-C ports are under the armrest, where there is a decent sized storage, and next to the smartphone cradle, which is too small. The glove box is average size, the door pockets are larger, and the cup holders are okay. I like the steering wheel is still the old type with two touchpads to control the driver's screen and the central screen. Again, watch my older reviews to see the infotainment in action.
The Mercedes-Benz EQB has a 66.5 kilowatt-hour traction battery. There are three powertrain options to choose from. There's the front-wheel drive EQB 250 and two all-wheel drive models, the EQB 300 4MATIC and EQB 350 4MATIC. The EQB 250 has a declared range of up to 469 kilometers, and the 4Motion variants can both drive for up to 419 kilometers on a single charge.
I don't know how the larger and heavier EQB gets better range than the EQA. Perhaps Mercedes has optimized the powertrain. The declared 0 to 100 km/h time for the EQB 350 4MATIC is 6.2 seconds. I got 5.8, both in comfort and sport mode. The overall results were very similar.
Mercedes claims the EQB should use 18.2 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers combined. I got this much while driving on some rural roads between villages. The temperature outside was about 25 degrees Celsius. On the motorway, you may expect above 20 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers, which means you should be looking for a DC charger every 250-300 kilometers. This is consistent with what I got in the EQA 250 last autumn, when the temperature was around 5 degrees Celsius.
Speaking of charging, the EQB has an 11 kilowatt onboard charger, so with a powerful enough wall box you can recharge in about 6 to 7 hours. DC charging up to 100 kilowatts will take over 30 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge.
But let's say you drive the EQB mainly to get to and from the city. As long as the outside temperature is above freezing, you should get about 300-350 kilometers range. My friends who drive an EQA for a year now say that in the winter they see a 50% drop in their range. The ride and handling are pleasant enough. Despite the 19-inch wheel alloys, there is a considerable amount of sidewall on these tires, so that helps the suspension to even out most of the bumps. The top part of the cabin is very quiet, possibly in part due to better aerodynamics than in the GLB, but on the motorway there is considerable road noise.
Driver aids work great. I like Mercedes semi-autonomous driving, and I appreciate they added all these systems in the A-Class and other compact models long ago, while BMW is gradually adding them to the UKL platform cars only now.
Something that sets EVs apart from combustion engine cars is recuperation. Every time I switch back from an EV to a regular petrol or diesel car, I get this feeling of wasting energy.
Driving downhill, coasting to the lights, or braking before a tight turn are all situations in which I can regain some of the electric energy. That's why the batteries may only be 66.5 kilowatt-hours and the energy use is 18.2 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers, but claimed range can be 400 kilometers. Of course, a lot depends on the road conditions, the driving style, as well as the weather, but there is a lot of potential to regain some energy. The simplest way to go about it is to hold the paddle by the steering wheel a bit longer and you get the automatic recuperation. In this mode, the car will coast until there is congestion in front, in which case it'll automatically apply region braking. Or you can control the region level yourself with the paddles.
just be careful, because when the real brakes take over, the car can jerk, especially when you hit a bump and the ESP intervenes. Now, most car makers still need to figure out their region braking calibration. This is the 4MATIC. In a car like this, the all-wheel drive system's main job is to improve on-road dynamics. A heavy car with 292 horsepower and 520 Nm of torque needs good traction.
But I performed my diagonal approach test anyway. The EQB has around 15 cm ground clearance, so it's not designed to drive off-road, but it coped very well anyway. By the way, during normal driving on tarmac, the EQB mainly uses the rear motor and the front one gets to work only upon harder acceleration. The system makes some 100 calculations every second to make sure the optimum combination of the front and rear motor is applied. Prices of the Mercedes-Benz EQB start at €52,550 for the EQB 250. The EQB 300 4MATIC costs €55,519, and the EQB 350 4MATIC like this one starts at €58,197. This test car with options costs about €69,850.
The Mercedes-Benz EQB is an electric SUV which will get you into town and around town, but it's not really meant to go anywhere further. Faster charging or longer range would make it more attractive. It's a shame. This feels to me as if Mercedes designs EVs because it has to, not because it wants to. And how do you like the Mercedes-Benz EQB? Do you prefer the regular GLB, or maybe there's another EV on your radar? Let me know in a comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.